What's going on these days with the CDC is a bit insane, right? I mean, they seem to be more political than medical organization. What is the CDC's first bullshit epidemic? So, there was this EVALI epidemic in 2019. So, when people present at the hospital with what turns out to be EVALI, they commonly reported symptoms include shortness of breath and cough, fatigue and body aches, fever, vomiting or diarrhea. And they are also negative for infectious disease testing like influenza, other respiratory viruses, bacteria, etc. This is from 2019, which is before we had this COVID testing. So are these EVALI patients negative for coronavirus as well? Or were they just negative for the viruses that the hospitals were testing for? So is it possible that they were infected with coronavirus and that's what caused it? Sounds like a hypothesis. It's a mysterious outbreak. It occurred only in the US. And if you look at the number of cases, so it looks like a typical epidemic curve, right? This is like the typical curve for outbreaks. Well, there is no confirmed mechanism of how these vaping devices caused only these people to develop this lung injury, while they do not cause any kind of lung injury in most people. And then people have been vaping since 2007 maybe, I don't know, something like that. So for about at least 10 years, why 19? Why 2019? What was so special about 2019? And specifically, what was so bad about vaping around August, September of 2019, when the cases peaked in September? Why was it limited to the US? People use vaping all over the world. And why did it disappear? Because vaping is still a thing. There's plenty of vaping. But no EVALI anymore. I suggest this is the rise of American pseudoscience. The definition of EVALI case produced by the CDC is an example of circular logic. So, if you go to the hospital with shortness of breath and cough and inflammation markers up, and you're negative for the viruses they test for, then there are two cases. If you vape, it's an EVALI case. If you don't vape, everything else being equal, then you're just a regular pneumonia case, right? It's like, so you're saying that, but why didn't you call it the Coca-Cola epidemic? Do you drink Coca-Cola? Have you drank Coca-Cola in the last 90 days? It's the same logic. Did you eat Mars bar in the last 90 days? Did you? It's the Mars bar epidemic. You're defining a case not by symptoms, but by your own definition. You said someone who has pneumonia and admitted to vaping in the last 90 days is an EVALI case. Did they ever produce the data for that? No, they just defined it as, well, did you vape? Yeah, okay, now we're going to study Edie Hall why vaping is bad, and we'll call it an epidemic. It's also weird, it's like the only treatment that the CDC seems to suggest consistently, and others, like the minions also seem to suggest, is quit smoking, don't vape, and don't switch to smoking. Just don't vape and don't smoke. That's the way to combat this epidemic, which is a non-epidemic. You can see, right? Vaping continues, the epidemic is over. So it wasn't caused by vaping. Reality proved it. I don't need to convince you any more than that. The fact. Okay, so this is pseudoscience. This is not real science. This is not how real science is done. First, you look at the evidence. You develop a theory. You have predictions. You go back to the data. See if you're on track. And refine. Here, they came with a conclusion, it's caused by vaping. And then from there on, everything was just, yeah, so let's get into more and more mechanisms. But the first step, just the first step, was dumb. And again, this is proven. There is no more EVALI epidemic. And there is vaping. So this is beyond doubt that this is a bullshit epidemic, right? There's not, you can just, if you don't reach that conclusion, there's something wrong with your deduction mechanisms. Occam's razor is, there is a simple explanation, stick with it. Don't try to look for 1,000 mechanisms that would make you right in your initial assumption. Just explain the data. Here, the simplest explanation is bullshit. People make mistakes, right? You don't need any kind of other reasoning behind it. Whether they did it consciously or subconsciously, that I do not know. What if COVID is mostly bullshit as well? Because in some places it kills a lot. At sometimes, in most places it doesn't do shit. Sometimes it attacks kids. And sometimes the Delta strain now is becoming more deadly. Did it change? Or is there something else? So, the stuff that comes out of the CDC doesn't make any sense. You don't have to be a doctor or a scientist to notice that inconsistency, for example. Put a mask, don't put a mask, put 2 masks, don't put any masks. Get a vaccine, get another vaccine, get another vaccine, put a mask. Get another vaccine and put a mask. We're all constantly surprised, we're constantly learning. It teaches them humility. They constantly say it teaches us humility. Humility, or how little we know. Just learn every day how little we know. The CDC is like an Alzheimer patient, not referring to anyone specific. So they're like shedding off information and structures that are good at doing things. And the result is bullshit. So if you liked this video or found it interesting, then you would hit the like button. If you subscribe to this channel, then I will have more than 3 subscribers. That's about it. Thank you very much. Have a great